Do 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 do.
Welcome to the Red Bean Podcast, New Orleans edition. I'm your host, Mr. Toad.
And I'm Dr. Frog.
We're going to be talking about Made in the Abyss, and this is a review. We have a theoretical collection of 3 CD Blu-rays.
Not just theoretical, we actually have a collection of 3 Blu-rays.
Exactly. What did you think, Dr. Frog?
Well, I can't remember if this is all of Season 1 or includes Season 2 as well, but I've enjoyed it so far.
I think before we get into
we haven't finished it, but
yeah, because there's a second season you were saying, and that's definitely something I want to get into.
Mm-hmm.
What would I guess we have to kind of get an overview of this world.
Yeah, maybe do some world building and then talk about each of the layers of the abyss.
And then
there might be some spoilers. We'll let you know if there's going to be spoilers, but.
So, In the Abyss, this is an anime, and actually it's a Japanese company. We kept thinking it was possible.
I thought it might be Korean because of some of the voice actresses and actors,
But essentially the Abyss is an anime and a manga, and basically what it's about is there's this giant hole they discover, and they start going in there and they start finding these rare relics.
Yeah, they don't tell you much at the outset about the world, just that there's a sort of chasm. There are people living along the edge of the chasm with a giant opening in the middle, mountains all around the side, and it looks like sea that extends for who knows how long around the edges of the outside of this little mountain range. So there's a lot of physical barriers that are kind of pushing everyone into the abyss as a way of exploring, rather than maybe exploring through the sea.
Yeah. And so the idea behind this is that there is a small city. It was basically a large city surrounding the abyss. Yeah. And it's just basically, we're introduced to the main character, and her name is Rika.
Yeah, her name's Rika.
And Rika is, for all intents and purposes, she's an orphan, right?
Yeah, I think that her mother was a famous spelunker, diver, I think is what they call them.
Yeah, they're going deep into the abyss to find treasures and bring them up.
They have fruits and food and wildlife down in at least the earlier layers of the abyss, but supposedly there are ancient treasures and relics and other things further down. But of course, the monsters get harder.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. But what a great setup for an adventure.
Exactly. Like, hey, let's go on this adventure, and then you're like, shouldn't I get some information? Nah, it's all right. You just go in the hole.
Well, if you grew up in that society, it must be kind of interesting seeing this giant chasm every day.
Yeah. So basically, what's going on is this is a giant hole that goes into the ground. There's like this cloud or something, and they believe, I want to just say, it's called...
Oh, the cloud.
Yeah, there's a force field, and the force field is, it prevents people from seeing down below.
Can't really look down.
It's like a cloud or something that covers it, and it prevents people from observing further down. And they also say that... the layers, you have the first layer, which is called the edge of the abyss.
There you go. Second
layer is the forest of temptation. Third layer is great fault. Fourth layer is the goblets of giants, which we saw that. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, fifth layer is the sea of corpses. Yeah. Now they were saying basically once you get past the fifth layer,
I think that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're crossing into the sixth.
Yeah. And basically, when you go to the fifth layer, I guess from the concept of the story, it's like most people don't come back from that, really.
I mean, it would be really hard anyway. Really past the second layer, it's a little difficult to skill your way back up. But people do dive, and they have different colored whistles to indicate how far down they've gone.
We have the white whistles, which is the top one, and then you have
which is the furthest going down. Yeah, isn't it black before white,
I think so.
and then red, and then it goes blue or something?
But also back.
I can't remember the order.
But then, of course, when we get past the 5th layer, Sea of Corpses, we have the 6th layer, which is called the Capital of the Unreturned. Then, of course, the 7th layer, the Final Maelstrom. And, of course, the Deepest Point.
Yeah, makes you wonder what's at that deepest point. And really, it's that curiosity that drives the viewer as you go along with Rika on this journey further down.
And it's interesting because they actually give measurements. So the deepest point, the deepest that we know, is about 20,000 meters.
I wish I had context for that, if I had been a scuba diver or something. Yeah, I do know what a meter is. I'm trying to conceptualize what 20,000 meters is. How many miles would that be? This is going to sound kind of weird.
We're gonna do a quick comparison.
It's 20,000 meters to miles.
So that's about almost 13 miles, or 12.43 miles.
Which you think, I can jog a mile in,
yeah, but that's like
7 minutes.
Right,
but you're thinking
straight
vertical.
downwards.
Yeah, straight vertical.
Like going down.
If you're moving that speed. If you're in free fall. I always wondered, why wasn't one of the methods getting a parachute and just kind of diving right down the middle there?
I think the problem is they had those creatures that would fly up and eat you, probably.
Yeah, in the second layer.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had ways of fighting them, Now, maybe it's because I'm spoiled by Attack on Titan. You have the omnidirectional gear, But I'm like, just fly around the abyss.
So what happens is, as you go further into the abyss, the first layer, one of the things people start to notice, and this is between depths 0 to 1,350 feet, or 1,350 meters.
About 20th of the way down.
Yep. What happens is you feel light dizziness and nausea.
So there's some symptoms that they talk about at each of these layers that are sort of well known and documented.
Basically, they're saying this is the most shallow section of the abyss right below the town of Orith. The environment is consistent and sunny, full of hollows in the grassy rock face.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have Forest of Temptation, which is 1,350 to 2,600 meters. Intense nausea, headaches, and numbness of the limbs.
This forest, I think, I remember this. This wasn't the upside-down trees, per se, but it was
the inverted forest.
Oh, it was.
The inverted forest.
So that was such a cool thing. And I think the waterfalls also move upward.
Yeah.
It's a little bit... I think it's a little bit upside down.
Like the physics were a little different.
A little bit of opposite day.
And then, of course, we have the third layer, which is considered the Great Fault. This is between 2,600 meters to 7,000 meters. In addition to the affirmance, you get vertigo with visual and auditory hallucination.
Wow.
Not too good if you're in a environment with monster infested area.
No, you want to keep your wits about you.
You want to stay. Yeah, exactly.
I noticed that there's a lot of monsters that sort of lay traps for them.
Yeah.
They lure them either through. One of them, I think, had someone talking that
they sounded like people in there.
Yeah. Or they did certain things to try to lure the adventurers in.
I mean, this
reminds me of Greek myths, like the sirens and things like this.
What I took away from this show is that these creatures in the abyss, they're predatory. They're going to eat.
Well, they have to have a way of surviving. And
sustenance.
Getting some sustenance, yeah.
Of course, now we're going to go into the fourth layer, the Goblets of Giants, which is these giant structures with water on top of it, kind of seeping down. Here's the depth, 7,000 to 12,000 feet.
So we're over the halfway point.
Yeah, so we're getting closer.
Yeah.
Then you have the effect is intense pain throughout the body and bleeding from every orifice.
Well, there we go. That'll
wake you up. If you're
Like,
asleep
said the
right
same
now.
You said the exact same thing.
You're like, if you're going to be awake, you're definitely going to be awake on this one. And the next thing, of course, with Sea of Corpses, the 5th layer, they say the strain of the ascent is complete sensory deprivation, confusion, and self-harming behavior.
Huh. Yeah, that doesn't sound very nice.
It doesn't sound very good, but the depth is 12,000 to 13,000 meters.
Okay.
This is going pretty deep.
Yeah, you still have about 10,000 to go, but...
And then, of course, the capital of the unreturned.
We have not been there yet.
The 6th layer. That's our next adventure.
Yeah.
Is we're going to the 6th layer, and what should we experience in the 6th layer? Loss of humanity or death, or under specific conditions.
That is the most anime thing I've heard you say today.
Loss of humanity or death.
Humanity or death. Yeah.
Or a combination of the two. Or you might wish you were dead in some of the stories.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I think there were some animals that would keep the humans alive.
Yeah, it was really brutal.
Oof. Yeah, it gets a little dark. But, some of these intense points are punctuated with moments of humor and humanity.
I really like the character development between the characters.
Reg, for example, and Rika.
And we're going to jump into that as we get to the last layer.
Sure.
The 7th layer, the final maelstrom.
I'd say second to last.
Second to last. Yeah, because then they have the deepest point, which is 15,000 to 500 meters. And they basically, what they're saying is certain death.
Huh.
I mean, not very descriptive. But
if that was on the brochure, I don't think I would travel.
You're like, this is likely going to kill you if you show up.
Where are you going for holiday this summer? I'm just going to go to certain death.
Yeah, I'm just going
to bypass that goblet of water.
I think we're just going to avoid the maelstrom if we can,
One final maelstrom, certain death.
Hey, but losing your humanity. Hey, that might be. That kind of sounds interesting.
It sounds like an R.E.M. song or something.
Losing
my humanity.
Losing my humanity.
That's me in the corner. Yeah. Exactly.
And then, of course, the last, as far as we know, is the deepest point. Depth 20,000 meters. We don't know what you'll be experiencing, but it's probably going to be really hardcore. And it is unknown whether the deepest point has ever been reached. It is theorized that it is beyond 20,000 meters.
It depends on how many seasons they get credited for. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I would say, though, I'm going to just throw out a guess. I think the deepest point is going to be anticlimactic.
I think it's going to be crazy. I think things are going to look really bizarre. Creatures are going to be everywhere trying to kill them. They're just going to have to keep moving along.
I think that everything crazy is going to happen leading up to that point. But I think that point is going to be a calm, more emotional point in the show.
Yeah.
I think they'll have reached it, and then it'll just be conversations with ghosts or something,
I think what's interesting about the show, and I could tell you really liked it. You like the soundtrack.
Oh, I'm listening to this soundtrack separate from viewing it. I don't think you have to watch Made in Abyss to enjoy the soundtrack. It's great background music. There's a mixture of synth
with Arabian kind of.
Well, yeah. There's an acapella. They have male and female singers acapella, and it's just very relaxing to listen to. But yeah, I noticed that the way that they were playing with vocals was interesting. Yeah,
I liked the aspect of it kind of reminds me of Studio Ghibli, but kind of the unrated version of Studio Ghibli. Yeah, they kind of groaning sound, kind of. For the audience who don't know what we're talking about, basically Made in Abyss. If you go on YouTube and you look up Made in Abyss Season 2 VOH.
Yeah, that's sort of a popular track from the second season.
Sotoi.
Who was a famous singer featured in that particular song. But yeah, he's there's a lot of tracks that are all thematic. Like when you listen to a song, you'll know it's Made in Abyss because they all sound, in my mind, they sound similar to each other.
You know, when I was listening to it, the only thing that came to my mind was the movie Gladiator.
Oh, Gladiator with Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I really think I just kept thinking about Russell Crowe for some reason. It's like,
it might be. It sounds like a personal problem there. You're like, I just thought of Master and Commander and cannonballs going off, and you're like,
but he was the Gladiator, and I remember that scene where he's in
where they shut down
Spain, and he's walking there, and he's talking about like heaven or something, and he's like, he sees his family, and then you had the background music of.
Oh, I see.
And he's walking through the grass, and he's like seeing his family, and it's kind of beautiful, but it's kind of sad.
At some point, I heard that was based off actual practices of the time, I suppose.
I believe so.
The centers they'd treat like slaves through the gladiatorial.
Yeah.
Rewin their.
They can earn their freedom.
They can earn their freedom, yeah. Actually, that might be a future review. I've never seen Gladiator.
We're going to have to watch it. But I think we're at a point now that probably some people are saying, oh, who are the characters of this show?
Yeah, besides
Rico, we got Reg. What do you think about Reg? What's the backdrop?
I think Reggie, he doesn't quite know who he is, which is kind of a common element of a lot of these. I mean, we have Rico who's an orphan. Reg doesn't really know. I think he was made, but he doesn't quite know what for. And I think he has an ancient relic. He has his gun on his arm that he can't quite control early on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of powered by his emotions, and he really wants to protect Rika and sort of, find that purpose.
He's definitely a protector. You have that sensation of protection, and he also shoots his arm out with like a cord attached to it.
Yeah, he has multiple arms. One he can kind of pull himself up, which, by the way, helps with the whole spelunking thing. When you've run out of rope, you can still use Reg to get to different ledges and things.
But there's limits to what Reg can do, because when he shoots his weapon...
Yeah, he gets tired. He needs to rest. He needs to lay down and become ineffective for a while. And honestly, I think it forces calm moments in the anime. Otherwise, it'd be intense 24/7. But these sort of moments where the group has to recover, or is always leaves space for character development. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel attached to these characters, and it would just be pushing on to the next thing.
The other thing I like about it, too, is Rika kind of plays the geek on the team.
A little bit. She gets really excited at certain moments.
She has a lot of paperwork with description of the creatures that they encounter.
I think she memorized the compendium that her mother wrote or something.
Yeah.
And so, they give detailed descriptions of monsters you'll encounter and things that'll happen at different levels. And so she's very much working off this theoretical knowledge, and then sort of like an encyclopedia, when you reach the next floor, you'll find out about that floor and the fauna. I
love the detailed diagrams of being like, this is the creature, this is poisonous, this could kill you, this can't kill you. There's even a part where they were, as we were watching it, they even had kind of a cooking episode.
Oh, yeah.
They were like teaching how to cook and stuff and how to
They really bring in those little wholesome moments for character interaction development. I'm glad. It's not just an adventure film where they're constantly running.
So what did you think about Nanie?
Nanie, that's the bunny. The bunny character. And she's really nice.
I have to tell you, she's going through a lot. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I guess I want to kind of warn our listeners is that, and viewers, this is a pretty intense anime.
Pretty dark.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, there were parts
pretty
brutal.
Pretty traumatizing.
When you saw that, we're going to spoiler territory, but we're not going to get into specific details. But when I saw that container and that liquid started pouring out of it, and the people were crying, and then the creature was...
lots of emotional scenes.
My gosh, that's brutal.
They set up character deaths really well. They set up the pain and torment that people endure at different levels really well.
And people
it makes the world kind of come alive, and they really play with this, what is a human, and what do you have to do, what do you have to go through to lose your humanity is a running theme. They depict, does it mean torture? Does it mean going down to a deep level where you forget who you are memory-wise? Does it just mean suffering? Well, how and when do you lose your humanity is a constant theme. Do we
have value as human beings? In this world, it seems like human beings are very
Is humanity
expendable.
valuable? Yeah, is humanity valuable? They're sort of treated just like regular animals in the later floors.
Yeah,
Especially, humans are just one type of thing in this ecosystem. It's interesting in this anime to see an ecosystem where humans aren't necessarily the top predator.
Yeah, like other humans are really...
In the real world, we're used to being top dogs. But in Made in Abyss, especially the further down we go, we're more visitors on foreign lands. It's more foreign to us.
Yeah.
You know? It's not necessarily welcoming to humans, you know.
I like the villain, I guess you would call him, Bondrode.
Is that on the 5th floor?
He's on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
And one of the things I enjoy about this story is there's this idea that, you know, oh, is this person helpful or not? And it's almost like it's like they're... It's like boiling the frog. You know, have you heard the expression of like you're gradually heating up the pot, and to the point where the frog
doesn't jump out.
Yeah, the frog doesn't jump out, and eventually the frog gets cooked alive and gets killed in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know, well, what I see more with their evil villains is these are people who have adapted at whatever level in the abyss that they've become accustomed to, and rather than it presenting them as just evil, there's a sort of amorality that I see in some of their things. Oh, they're just doing experimentations. Oh, they're just, you know, using humans in one way or another to get some advantage in living. But there's a sort of, you know, can you blame people for doing what makes sense scientifically to survive, even if it goes against our, you know, common sense morality, let's say. But I see a lot of amoralism sort of in some of those deeper floors.
I kind of
the boss isn't necessarily evil. The bad guy's not really evil, but not good, certainly.
I don't know. Bondrode, I think he's pretty evil. That guy was a psychopath, in my opinion. But I kind of see, for him, it's like when you stop looking at people as people and
he's experimenting on animals
as some kind of, as not as a person, but you look at people as a conquest. That's a problem.
Yeah.
When people are no longer valuable, but you look at them as something to be conquered or controlled or dominated, you fail to start looking at people for what they are and their personality and
having inherent value.
Value, yeah. So I thought
certainly,
that was
there isn't really human dignity that they're treated with. Yeah.
So it was interesting to see the characters, and then of course, Nanie, of course, the bunny kind of girl. She's a valuable asset to the team.
She's a good friend to the team, yeah.
She knows medicine.
Through a lot. She fits well into the story arc.
What was really hard was when you saw her and her friend.
Yeah, losing her friend.
And then...
a little bit of spoiler there.
I'm not going to get into how the friend gets lost or taken...
Or found.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's not going to be much left. But what we're ultimately saying is that this is a hard-hitting show, so if you're definitely on the sensitive side, maybe avoid this one a little bit.
To be honest, it's been like pulling teeth. I started watching this show 2 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know when it came out, 2018, I think. Maybe 2019. But I started watching it a few years ago, and I'm still not done.
Oh, wow.
I'm right where we are in watching it, and it's been 2 years.
I want to go to the 6th layer. I want to get to that.
You want to go further? I'm okay with saying, you know.
I want to go all the way. I want to lose.
I think I would have stopped at layer 2, and I would have gone back up.
See, for me, I don't know. I kind of feel like I would want to see what the bottom.
I would have become one of those teachers teaching people how to go to layer 1 or 2.
And then you'd have like little piece of paper being like, oh. This is Mr. Toad. He just survived layer 5.
Yeah, he says, help, Dr. Frog. Can you please come down here?
Can you send a rope down there?
I said, well, I'll send someone maybe later. Mr. Toad will be okay. I'm not going to go.
Hopping around, shooting these creatures with my own blaster.
I'll say he'll become a warrior.
Exactly. I'll come back as like Cyborg.
How do you think Battletoads began?
Battletoads, yeah.
As a video game. Maybe
like
they
it.
just went to the 6th layer and came back as Battletoads fighting crime in space.
Fighting their way out of it, yeah.
Those are such good games.
So that was one of the characters.
Kicks were overpowered in Battletoads, though. The kicks.
And of course, Rika comes from an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
She eventually gets a letter from her mother, which says, "Hey, I'm down here at the abyss."
At the very end.
And she's like, "Hey, let's meet my mom."
Which is like, how do you get the... So that's why I think it's going to be surprising and non-climactic. What if it's like a little cottage at the bottom? And she's like, oh, I could have jumped through some portal and ended up at the top, but I thought I'd just send a message to you and wait for you in a cottage down here.
Another character.
I think that'd be really nice.
Another character I think we should dive into is Prushka.
Prushka, yeah.
What did you think of Prushka?
Great character. When I first encountered her, I was like, this person's very over energetic, and they seem to not know how to interact with other humans very well. So I was like, oh, this person's maybe not great on social cues or something. And it makes perfect sense with her backstory and how many people she's interacted with her whole life and the struggles she's gone through. But she's basically energetic, and she wants to see a dawn. Her name means like dawn's light or something, and she's always wanted to be on the surface. But we don't meet her. We meet her in one of the layers, I think the 5th layer. And I don't think she's ever seen the dawn. She doesn't quite know what it means when she's asked to describe it.
Yeah, like for her, most of her life, when we start watching some of the flashbacks, she was like a victim of surviving going that far down.
Yeah.
And coming up, but she was like really messed up. And
maybe she went up the stairs.
And that guy who was the White Whistle, what's this guy's name?
Starts with a B.
Yeah. He was Bondred.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was a piece of work.
Sort of takes her in, though.
This guy, I have to tell you, I think he's evil as hell. But he had a mission, and he just didn't care about the amount of damage he was causing.
I think it's, after killing so many people, maybe just for fun, you get a little lonely, and you're like, why don't we save one?
It kind of reminds me of the Richard Kuklinski. Now, this is going into real life, but he was a hitman for the Gambino crime family, and they believe this man has killed at least 125 to 150 people.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the problem, though. Once he's killed that many people, there's times I mean, would you forget after a while? I mean, after,
You might forget individuals, but you probably wouldn't forget the reasons why.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I was paid to do this.
Yeah.
Or, oh, yeah, that guy,
exactly,
did something.
It's a job. And when you're in that kind of syndicate, you'd have to say something like, similar to what Spike Spiegel must have felt, maybe. If I didn't do it, the next person would.
Yeah.
So, at that point, you're just a strong arm, maybe.
But Prushka, it definitely pulled the heartstrings for me, especially when I saw the container and the fluid came out. I'm not going to talk about details about what that is, but when I saw it and the animal started licking it, it just broke my heart.
I like the tension between what's good is, at the end of life with animals that are suffering, we sort of put them down, and sometimes with humans, it's hard for us to treat them with the same humanity that we do sometimes our pets. But I think that, there's that tension between you want your friend to live, but you also want your friend to be treated with dignity. So there's constantly this kind of pull between what's the right thing in respecting humanity.
Yeah. And one of the things I did like was this little pet they had called Minia.
Minia, yeah, that was such a fun little cute pet. Prushka could see the trails of Pina when it traveled.
Yeah.
And it was just this adorable little comfort pet.
But the pet could also point out what areas were more dangerous than others.
Yeah, I mean, it broke a lot of tension with the seriousness of the show. You have to find those ways of providing comfort to the viewer.
There has to be a little bit of relief, comedy relief, or kind of just...
Otherwise, you just be desensitized to it all, and you're just like, who dies next? Let's go,
Yeah, it just turns into a giant bloodbath.
Yeah, and you want the deaths to be meaningful, presumably. If you're
you don't want people just to die meaninglessly. And I'll tell you, this show makes every attempt to pull at the heart.
It pulled at the heartstrings. Yeah.
It makes you feel like, oh my God,
Oh my
what
goodness.
happened
Yeah,
to that person, and that person got blown away. This other person, well, we're not even going to get into that, but
Oof.
I just remember when I saw the liquid hitting the ground,
I could tell you're affected, and you know what? They kept going back to the animal licking it up, and you didn't like that.
It was terrible. I was like, oh my God. We're not going to tell our viewers.
A lot of the show also played with like the mind-body problem. So it played with like, what are you? Are you the heart that's beating? Are you a soul? Are you the organs? Are you, and it really plays around with that.
This is definitely body horror kind of
There was definitely body horror and,
and body mutilation.
And torture.
Horrible experimentation. Unethical experimentation.
I shouldn't have said the T word, but yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I think this is a really good show. If you can stomach it, because it does get pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
I would give this place, I would give it at least 7.5, 8.
7.5 to 8? Okay, I was going to give it 7.5 only because it isn't quite my cup of tea when it comes to the type of horror it is.
Yeah.
I like psychological horror a little bit more than body gross horror.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would give it an 8 or 8.5 even. The music carries it. I thought of giving it an 8 just from the music.
I'm going to probably push towards an 8. I'll push towards it. And the reason why I think I like it so much is that when I watch it, the one thing that blows me away, it was the one thing I kept telling you that I really enjoyed, the world building.
Yes.
Amazing.
It felt very consistent and real. It felt like it could be an actual place. There wasn't inconsistencies for fantasy's sake. And again, I'm at 7.5. The reason I'm staying there is if I like a show, I can watch it all in one go. This one, it's like pulling teeth. I'm watching an episode and I'm having to take breaks and.
It was like bathroom break, stretch break.
Well, or months. Okay, I'm gonna put this down, watch some Nyan Biori. No, I'm just kidding. But watch some sort of like happy slice of life thing where you're like, okay, there's no death here, okay, and then go back to it later. After you. I don't know if you ever do that. Do you ever balance your horror watching with, like slice of life for comedy or something?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta loosen things up a little bit. I think for me, it's gone. I definitely have to have like a light anime or maybe just like a light action movie. I love mystery movies that are done right.
But I mean, the reason I give 7.5 is because I'm already thinking of what I would want to watch besides that, in between watching that. if it's, Attack on Titan, I love the first season of Attack on Titan. Second season, halfway through, same thing with me. It got so brutal and so over the top. And I know Attack on Titan's it just wrapped up. It has the end of season 4 or something. I think it was the last season. I'm still halfway through season 2 because every episode is like pulling teeth. I have to take a break after every episode.
I'll tell you one thing. Made in Abyss, I do like that they have a way of giving you this false sense of security, which I really enjoyed because you'd be walking around like, oh, look at this beautiful field of flowers.
Yeah.
Oh,
I originally thought Wizard of Oz. On the 4th layer, I was like, Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, don't lie down and fall asleep in the flowers. Because in Wizard of Oz, they forgot what they were there to do. And
yeah.
So I was like, uh-oh.
It's a little scary. It's like, you're like, hey, you better not be comfortable.
If there's a nice, cute little bug, it's probably something poisonous and deadly that's been designed to
crawl inside of your body and eat you from the inside out.
Yeah, exactly. There's something where you can't trust anything in this.
It's like everything out there is designed to kill you in this thing. So basically, what we're saying is don't ever lower your guard down if you're in the abyss.
If you're thinking of traveling through 7 or 8 layers of demonic abyss creatures,
essentially,
bring a friend.
Yeah, bring a friend.
And bring a couple ancient relics that can blow things up.
And
even if you have to take naps.
And don't take naps in a field of flowers.
I'll be honest, though. You could just reframe this, and you can think, Reg is just having a heck of a time. You go down there. You blast some animals with big guns. You take naps every so often because of your hunting, And, hey, it's not that bad a life, You go down there, you go do some hunting, do some napping, They should have brought a 30 case, Walk around the different layers, crack open the cores. Reg over there.
Oh man, blast that!
Reg over there. All right, I'm taking a 4-hour nap, you guys.
I hope nothing bad happens while I'm taking a nap.
Let's just stumble down these stairs.
That was my whole thing about the whole Reg can only shoot the thing for a certain amount of time. And then
what was it? You didn't like? I liked it because it built two things. It built tension where he's not just this deus ex machina that's going to change everything every time.
He's not like the walking Terminator.
Yeah, it isn't just like Super Saiyan, God Goku's going to show up and blast everyone away and then disappear,
Hey, I like Super Saiyan 3 suit transformation.
The 3 is cool because he had long hair.
He had long hair.
It goes back to the 80s like glam rock.
Yeah.
Super Saiyan 3 Goku's like glam rock person. But then the fourth one I kind of liked. A little less hair. He dyed it
almost like
purple, dyed it purple.
If you're talking GT, I love
or
that
Super,
one.
Super, yeah. And then there's the God one, which is bright blue. I like bright blue. Who doesn't like bright blue? It's my favorite flavor of drink.
There you go.
The blue one. So anyways, we got Cool Ranch Goku. So anyway, all I'm saying is Reg doesn't turn into that. He would if he didn't have to cool down. But now he turns into like Barrett from Final Fantasy VII when he does a limit break. And he shoots his big shot, and then you have to wait another like 6 turns while he gets beat up before you can do your limit break.
Before you can do it again, yeah.
But also besides it preventing him from becoming a Mary Sue, where he's just like super OP, it also
I felt like it measured things out.
It also forced interactions between characters who had to rest. They now had to have a campfire scene while he slept. They now had to not fight. They now had to hide in the corner and think about what to do next and cook food.
Like stay quiet in the woods and not say anything.
Whereas if he was just constantly blasting, never having to sleep, it'd be like, all right, let's go. Next one. Hey, more animals over there.
Blow them away.
It'd be like, it'd be like a video game Big Hunter,
It would basically be like shooting fish in a barrel.
Shooting fish in barrel abyss. Shooting fish in abyss is what it should be renamed. Anyway, I was just trying to bring some comedy to the levity.
Okay. But overall, I'm giving this an 8.
I'm saying 7.5, and the music and emotions carry it.
And of course, we would definitely say this is not for young children, probably.
I wouldn't even want them in the same room with some of the scenes. It would be probably distressing.
Yeah.
This is definitely 14 up, I would say. I would say PG-13.
Okay.
And there are some elements that are R, but they're not depicted. They're referenced, but similar to some PG-13 movies, you could have that same stuff referenced. But
yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say like Y14 is what it would probably show up as on TV. If not, I don't think it would be a Y17. Do we have what the rating actually was on its release?
That I'm not sure of, but I've seen something saying 15.
15, okay. So I can even, and that's rare for the American moderators to, it's usually Y14 up to 17, but, they go like 10, 11, and then they go 14, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looked like it warranted a 15 even, so.
Yeah, because of the graphic violence.
Which is 1 year after. I believe you can start working at McDonald's when you're 14. So this is actually a year after someone could be employed.
Are you saying working at McDonald's might be like in the
someone could be
in the
working,
maelstrom?
Someone could be working at McDonald's a full year, full time, and still not be of age to watch Made in Abyss. So yeah, why if it's Y15, it's even something more to think about.
Do you think?
I don't know what.
I hope.
We can send them to war, but we can't have them have a beer. This is like we can send them to work at McDonald's, but we can't sit them down.
Forget sending them to McDonald's.
They can't watch an episode of Made in Abyss.
I want these people to go to the 5th layer, and I want them to go beyond.
Yeah, I'm ready for beyond the 5th layer. Each layer I feel completely done with, except for I like the upside down trees and upside down walls.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Again, if I was just gonna chill at a layer, that might be one. I don't like heights though, so I don't like the idea of looking down into the clouds.
Yeah,
but
but I think
I'd get over it. Probably.
Yeah, but overall, this is our first kind of a review over Made in Abyss. We didn't want to reveal every aspect of the story, but basically we have these adventurers. They're going through these different layers.
Yes.
And it's a scary environment, and it's tough, and they're like on the verge of dying.
Yeah.
Multiple times, but...
Oof.
I do like that they have a certain kind of character that says, even though this is hard, even though there's a chance that we could die,
friendship and love is pulling them through.
Yep.
It's very
we can overcome the challenges that are being presented towards us.
There we go.
And I think that's the big takeaway from Made in the Abyss. And I give it a recommendation to watch if you're into anime and you're okay with some grotesque.
I would say it'd be a tough if it's your if you have a friend who's never watched anime. This would be a hard first anime to watch.
Yeah.
So I'd introduce them with something else, and then
maybe it's something lighter first.
Yeah, something a little lighter that shows a little bit more variety of what type of show it is. But this one, it's gonna hit the same way each episode.
Definitely. So that makes for our review for the Red Bean Podcast New Orleans edition for the review of Made in Abyss.
Made in Abyss.
This is your host, Mr. Toad.
And I'm Dr. Frog.
We'll talk to you later.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.